Let us look at a circuit now with each of the elements that we have studied. Although this is an example of the book, example 7.9, but interestingly, it has almost all of the elements that we have studied: a capacitor, in fact, two capacitors, a resistor, an inductor, and a voltage source and a current source. Although we have not used values here, because soon we are going to come to know that this is quite a uh, complex circuit to solve with the current knowledge of circuit analysis that we possess. What we know is KCL, KVL, and circuit solution techniques like NVA, MCA, and we know the terminal behavior of each of these elements are LC and voltage source and current source. So how the techniques that we already know are going to help us solve such a circuit. So suppose this Vs is given, Is is given, C1, C2, L and R are given, and we need to find something, say the voltage across this L or the current through this C2 or whatever. So how we are going to do this? Remember that in circuit analysis we use NVA or MCA based on which one appeals us in a particular situation. We make as many equations as are unknowns, and then we solve them together and find the ultimate thing that we want to find. So let us try to do the same thing here as well. Remember that we are studying linear circuit analysis, and each of these elements has to be a linear one for us to be able to use concepts of linearity, which they are luckily. R is a linear circuit element, L is linear, R2 is linear, C2, C1, all are linear elements. So, had these been resistors only, all resistors, we are fairly familiar with how to solve them. But given that this is an inductor, these are capacitors, let us see how to apply NVA or MCA here. I am going to apply one of these. The rest you can try on your own, and be very careful. Remember how we know a voltage source behaves. It may here we have tried to write it by a small v. So basically, to signify that this may be a function of time. It may be variable, it may not be constant. Similarly, a small one here. So this is a function of time, this is a function of time. It's not constant, it may be varying. Why? Because we already know that for the case where currents through inductors are constants, the voltage across them are zero. V is equal to L di by dt. If the current through an inductor is constant, the voltage across it would be zero. And if the voltage across a capacitor is constant, the current through it is going to be zero. It is an open circuit for the case of constant voltage. And this is a short circuit for the case of, this is a short circuit if I is constant. Why? I constant, derivative is 0, V is 0. And this is an open circuit if V is constant. And for an R, we know that V is equal to Ri. So these are the three equations that describe the terminal behavior of each element that we have in this circuit. So using this behavior, this knowledge of terminal behavior, let us try to come up with as many equations for this circuit for analysis sake. So let us assume that we want to apply mesh current analysis here. I am choosing to apply mesh current analysis here because the book probably have applied nodal equations. So you should study the book to know how to apply nodal analysis here. But let me do the mesh analysis here. So this one is a mesh, this one is a mesh, this one is a mesh. And let us mark the mesh currents. It's very important. Here we choose to mark them as small letters. Why? Because the sources themselves are functions of time. So our mesh currents would be function of time as well. Let us say this is I2 and this mesh current is I3. The C2 has nothing to do with this mesh current, although it has something to do with the mesh current I3. So how would we write KVL here for these meshes? We already know that. So we have a voltage rise here minus Vs of t, plus we need to write the voltage across this one. Had this been an R, we would have written R into I1 minus I2, because I1 is going in this direction and we are moving in this direction, and I2 is opposing that. So I1 minus I2. But the issue is the voltage across an inductor is defined by this expression. So here the current is not I, it's I1 minus I2. So it is I1 minus I2, and this is the current through the inductor, and we take its derivative and we multiply it by its inductance, and we are going to get this voltage across this inductor. And obviously the polarity is going to be this one in the direction that we are moving, in the direction of this I1. And now here we come across this capacitor, and the voltage across a capacitor is not defined by this expression. Instead, it is defined by plus 1 over C2 integral from T naught to T of I1 minus I3 is the current through the capacitor, plus the voltage across the capacitor. Let us mark it because we need to write it there. So let us say this is V2, small v2, plus V2, the value of V2 at T naught. And there are three elements, 1, 2, 3, equal to 0. This is the equation of mesh 1. And note what a splendid equation this is. We have a derivative term here and an integral term here. This is something known as the book says, it is known as a constant coefficient linear integral differential equation. The book jokes and says it's not very easy to pronounce even, and it's equally harder to solve it, or rather more hard to solve it. It's a constant coefficient. These coefficients are constant. The coefficient 1 or minus 1 here is a constant coefficient, and is a linear equation because derivative is a linear operator, integral is a linear operator, a summation is a linear operation. So it's a constant coefficient linear integral differential equation. We have derivatives and integrals in here, and what a change from the simple algebra that we had been seeing up till now. So let us try to write the equation for I2 now. I hope you can guess it fairly easy on your own. So we are going to get 1 over C1 T naught to T I2 only, plus let us mark some voltage here as well. Let us say it's V1 plus V1 at T naught plus R into I2 minus I3. R is our old friend, plus L d I2 minus I1 over dt equal to 0. So I will use plus here. This polarity was marked for the voltage in this case. Here the polarity would be in the direction of this I2. So it will be positive this side, this negative this side. So the current I2 minus I1 will cause this end to be positive. as we already know for from our knowledge of solving using resistors. And for I3, we don't need to write up an equation because we know that I3 is equal to minus Is. So for a circuit where Is is known, we know I3. So if we are able to solve these three equations, 1, 2, and 3, somehow we can find the values of I1, I2, and I3. And once we know the values or the expressions for I1, I2, and I3, because they are going to be functions of time, we can find whatever we want to find for this circuit. Obviously, we would need to know about this one as well and this one as well. See, we are not interested in knowing what was the value of the voltage across the inductor at T naught. This T naught must be the same throughout the circuit, but because there is derivative there. But for the case of integral, we know there is a constant of integration, and these are often known as the initial conditions. So initial conditions for such circuits are very important to be known before we are able to solve this, because starting with a different voltage is going to change the answer. Starting with a different voltage, if both are zero, we are going to get a different answer. If both are some values, we are going to get different values. So this is a very daunting task. It's not easy. Although in the next course, electrical network analysis (ENA), we are going to solve circuits employing R, L, and C um, for some special cases, and we will develop a methodology to understand how to solve for a general case as well, any circuit employing R, L, and C. But for this course, we are too naive we are too young basically to be able to even do this. However, in the next couple of chapters, we are going to come across circuits with RL or RC or RLC, the three of them together, for some very simple cases, especially for the cases where the sources are DC sources or constant sources, not changing sources. And we are going to basically study that, and that will more or less end the course that we are studying.